good speech about some of the, I think 15-year-old, right?
He was 13.
13-year-old that was rescued back in the 1500s.
Yes, sir.
Sounds very interesting. So let's bring Christine up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs.
She has a nice little shop in Little Havana shop, downtown Miami.
I do.
This is one of her products.
I like it.
I'll talk about that. My specialty is actually straw hats, the famous Panama hats that are not made in Panama. Who can tell me where they're made? Ecuador. That's where my mother's from. They're made by indigenous women of Ecuador. So that's my specialty. Didn't have time to run to the shop to pick it up today. So hello, good afternoon, everyone. How are you? I'm excited to be here. I live in downtown Miami, and the drive here is just so beautiful. I've never been this far into Pinecrest, so I'm excited to be here with you. A little bit about me, okay? And then I'm gonna ask a little bit about you, and do a little trivia, just to break the ice so we can bond a little bit. And then I'm gonna tell you a story about a young boy who was shipwrecked and rescued by indigenous people here. And then I'll have a grand finale story. So a little bit about me. My name is Christine Michaels. As Lucian said, I was born in Titusville, Florida, the Space Coast. Did my undergraduate in Baltimore, Maryland. Moved back, got tired of cold weather, and moved back in 1997 here to Miami. Okay, I did my master's degree, MBA in business at Nova Southeastern in Dade. I worked in different corporate America in marketing, but then one time when I was unemployed, really tough period, I took a tour and discovered the history of South Beach and the history and the architecture, Art Deco. And I had partied in these buildings as a 20-year-old. I'm like, wait a minute. This has a lot of history. It's like the buildings were tall. I just fell in love. And I served as a volunteer for the Miami Design Preservation League. And then I noticed in the summer, there wasn't a lot of people, and it gets really hot standing outside the whole time. So I started my own company, Art Deco Tours and Little Havana Tours, where it catered just to small groups of people, just 10 people. And we got you exclusive access to come into a lot of these Art Deco buildings you wouldn't think of going in, so I could tell you more fascinating stories. So it was a joy. I've always loved my job, my work. I did it for 16 years. And we did it every day for the public and private groups. I've had politicians, I've had school children, major corporations for private tours. And it was a lot of fun. But long story short, I decided after 16 years it was time for a change. I had to do other things. But I miss telling stories. I had to take a hiatus to take care of my mother, who had surgery. I took care of my mother full time. She recovered 100%, thank goodness. But I miss telling stories, so I opened up my hat shop, where I still tell stories. So if you come visit, it's a little boutique. We sit and I give you some Prosecco, some juice. And I don't just sell fashion, I want you to appreciate where these hats originated from, the people, okay? And then today, I'm going to share a story about this young boy, and I'm gonna get into it. Oh, but before I do, a little bit about you all, okay? I love your programs here, I'm very impressed with the library, wow. We don't have this in downtown Miami, not that I know of. I think I need to move down here. But how many of you are native Floridians? Oh, quite a few.
You're native.
Okay. How many of you have been here less than 10 years? More than 10 years? More than 20 years. Wow. More than 30?
Keep going. We're native.
You're native, so you've been here a long time. Very impressive. Oh my goodness, I could probably learn a lot from you all as well.
You didn't get to me yet.
Okay. Oh, okay, Richard. How long?
90.
No,
94.
I want to see ID, please.
95, right?
Oh, my goodness. Well, he said I was young, I said, I just turned 57, is that still young? Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you, okay, so you're natives, all right, pressure's on. I'm gonna ask some trivia questions, okay? Did you all come by yourselves or with someone?
With someone.
Okay, for those of you who came with someone, who's the smarter one?
Pam.
Okay, Lisa, did you come together over here? This couple, did you come together? Who's the smarter one? Or should I say, who knows more trivia or history?
History, probably some documentary trivia. Well, we didn't do one.
Okay, so question number one. Oh, this is gonna be easy. I usually tell this to children. Question number one, true or false? The fountain of youth is a real thing. False, okay, that was an easy one. Okay, here's another question. Ooh, about landscape geography. True or false? The Everglades came as far east as to the Miami airport.
Yes.
Very
Have you
good.
seen the movie, River of Grass?
Yes, I have, I read it, okay? And I also learned that from, do you all know Dr. Paul George?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay, I learned that from one of his Florida history classes. Okay, now, this is a little bit tougher, but I think you guys are gonna ace this. I'm gonna name 3 cities. Now, which one was founded first, not incorporated? Incorporated is when they became an official, but founded first. Founded first, second, and third. I'm gonna name you 3 cities. Okay, you raise your hands, I'll pick you. Is it Jacksonville, Tampa, or Miami? Which was founded first?
Miami.
Ooh,
Miami.
Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami.
it's actually Tampa.
When?
Tampa was first in the early 1800s, okay? Now, Jacksonville right after that, but Jacksonville incorporated before Tampa, and then Miami was last, 1896. But actually Tampa first, and we're gonna talk about that.
What about St. Augustine?
St. Augustine's even older, but that's obvious. Okay, so I got some of you on that one. Okay, Tampa. Now, Tampa actually formed a village, the village of Tampa, but then they abolished that government, and then they incorporated. But in terms of founding, they actually came right before Jacksonville. Yeah, okay. All right, so let me get into this story right away here. I want to take you back to a time in Florida, before Florida, when the peninsula was not just the end of the map, but this was actually the center of the Americas, the center of a water world. And in that world came a boy named Hernando de Escalante Fontaneda. Anybody heard of him? Okay, did you Google this? Did you cheat before? Okay, that's good. Okay, so a little bit about Hernando. He was born to a Spanish family in the island of Cartagena, which rings a bell. Today, Cartagena is an island that pertains to the country of Colombia. And Spanish explorers back in those days were discovering many islands, of course. And his father served the crown in Cartagena, and it was a port city, and in 1549, when he was 13, his family decided it was time to send him to Spain, to the mother country, for his formal education. So he boarded this merchant ship. There were sailors and merchants, and one African man that's only mentioned once in this story. And the ship was not a fortress or of oak or cannon, it was a wooden prayer held together by fate, and fate was restless that voyage. And while they were sailing along the Caribbean current, there was a wind, a strong wind, and the indigenous people of the area, the Taino, primarily of Cuba, they had a name for the spirit of the twisting wind. They called it huracán, with a K. You all know it as huracán, hurricane, okay? And as they sailed northward along the Caribbean current, somewhere near the Bahamas, you all as Native Floridians, you know the signs when there's a hurricane coming. The birds disappear. If there's animals, they skirmish, right? All of a sudden, the clouds stack like mountains. The sea turns iron gray. The Spaniards are praying, the ropes up the ship start singing like string violin, men vanish into the sea and the water, and then the ship splinters and they shipwreck along what they called in Spanish, los mártires, the martyrs. What islands am I talking about?
Keys.
The Florida Keys. The Florida Keys for many years was known as the martyrs. Why? Because many ships in history had shipwrecked along the reef, the coral reefs of the Keys. And this happened for many years. So Hernando and a couple other men and the one African man were thrown into the dark sea, and they awoke on the shore on the west coast of the land that the Spanish called La Florida, Florida. They did not find Spaniards. They did not find rescue. They found the Calusa Indians. Now, Hernando was captured, but he was not killed nor enslaved. He was observed. He was a strange gift from the sky, from the storm. And this is where the life of this 13-year-old boy began again. Now, he lived with the Calusa Indians. I'm going to give a little spoil. I'm going to spoil the ending a little bit. He lived with them for many years, and he actually documented his account. So sometimes I'm going to go into story mode, and sometimes I'm going to extract from his memoir. So to understand the story, you need to understand where he washed ashore. South Florida in the mid-1500s was not wilderness. It was a water kingdom. It was a vast network of lakes, rivers, mangroves, what we now call the Everglades. The 10,000 islands in the Southwest. Anybody visited the 10,000 islands in the Southwest? Pine Island Sound, Boca Grande, Charlotte Harbor. Cities back then were not built on dirt. They were built on mountains of seashells, oysters, and clams. I can already see the Disney film about this, okay? Canals were carved, hands by hands, generations deep. It was an engineered landscape, both deliberate and powerful. But the Calusa were not a small hidden tribe in the swamp. They were civilization. They were not farmers. They were fishing kings, and they ruled the waterways. They built canoes that could fit 30 men, and they glided in the canals like shadows. They fed and ate mullet, tarpon, conch, manatee, and they hunted the shark, not as prey, but for power, because shark teeth were symbols of weapons, currency, and used for ceremony. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Their leaders were called caciques, and they ruled thousands. And they said the chief leader, cacique, his house was as large as a European cathedral, built on a shell island, rising from the sea like a throne. I think I may have seen that in The Little Mermaid at some point. And this is where we find Hernando himself, not among savages, but the capital of a water empire. And Hernando thought he was going to die. He was in a strange land. He describes how all these people walked around naked except for breech loincloths. But the Indians captured him. They didn't kill him, they observed him. And what did Hernando do? He did something remarkable. He also observed and listened, and he survived. He learned their language and their way of life. And this is where we learn so much about the different Indian groups throughout South Florida. The Calusa were dominant and fierce. They ruled the Southwest. The Tequesta lived in present day, downtown Miami, along the rivers and lakes. The Tocobaga near Tampa. This is the first time we learned about Tampa. He wrote it T-A-N, and as an O-P-A, but we call that today Tampa. He learned about the Ais and the Jaga along the Atlantic coast. They were poor, but still influential. And he goes on to record their common food. For example, in the Florida Keys, he said they ate turtles and snails, tuni, whale, and something he called sea wolves, which we believe today were probably manatees. Maybe seals, sea lions, most likely manatees, but the manatees or sea wolves were only eaten by the principals. And he's already creating a distinction between there was a higher and a lower class. So the higher class ate the sea wolves. He was fascinated in the lower islands of the Keys. There were lots of deer. Anybody been to the Keys and seen deer? And in the Upper Keys, there were bears, lots of bears. And he starts tracing the lands, the islands of the Florida Keys where it tapers up north to a place called Tequesta, which is today downtown Miami. And the river there that was at the end of a vast freshwater lake. We traced those channels all the way up to a lake so large they called it Miami. In their dialect, it means big water. Today, what do we call that big lake? Okeechobee. Yeah, you guys are good. Okay. So around Lake Okeechobee, there were villages, many villages, 30 and 40 people. And their staple food was a kind of bread that they made out of a root from the marshes, the water. And when the water was so high and they couldn't reach those roots to make bread, then they turned to the lakes and rivers that were full of teeming fish and eels. He described the eels as tall as men and as thick as your thighs. He also said these people ate alligators, snakes, and rats, lake rats, and many other creatures he didn't really want to list. And so at this point, after many years, Hernando's not just Spanish, not just Calusa, but he was a bridge. And the next story is a perfect example of that. Over the years, there's many shipwrecks, right, along the Florida Keys. And when the captives are taken, they're brought to meet the chief leader, okay, out of respect to recognize his authority. So whether you're a tribal member or another member or a captive, you are presented before the chief, the cacique. And you are expected to sing and dance, not as a form of entertainment, but as a public demonstration of submission or peaceful intent. And sometimes the captives, they failed to perform this ritual. They felt mocked, they felt ridiculed, they were scared or confused. So to the Calusa, they thought these captives, the Spaniards or Christians as they call, they thought they were resisting, that you were planning to escape, or that they were wishing to challenge the chief's power. So in the Calusa political structure, a public refusal was a direct defiance, and defiance equaled death. Hernando had witnessed many of these captives were executed. So one day, the new group of captives, they stood there frozen and silent. And the cacique turned to Hernando and he asked, "Why do these Christians not sing and dance?" The chief's voice wasn't angry, he was more puzzled or disappointed. And he assumed that these people could be taught to show peace. But Hernando responded carefully. He said, "They do not understand you. They do not know what is being asked of them." And the chief frowned and says, "Wait, sometimes they do obey, sometimes they do not." And this was true. And here's where Hernando made a suggestion. Now this is crucial, because then you have to realize you're a captive. You don't speak unless you are spoken to, especially by the chief. So now he's just not responding. He is coming forward, speaking up on his own, making a suggestion. He suggests to the cacique, "Make a command. I will stand here and let them know the meaning." The cacique nodded, looking straight ahead at the captives, and in his booming, sharp voice that broke the silence, he commanded, "Senetega!" Which means, and Hernando translated, looking at the captives, he says, "Run to the lookout and see if anyone's approaching." Now the African man, this is the only time he mentions the African man, was there, and he laughed softly, and he turned to the cacique, and he said to the chief, "The boy speaks truly, he speaks your tongue," meaning he understood and he interpreted correctly. And the chief saw in that moment that the captives obeyed, but they were lost because they're scraped. They had no idea where this lookout point is. And at that moment, everyone was enlightened. A misunderstanding had been killing people unnecessarily. Misunderstandings. So this was a wise chief. He issued a new decree. He ordered that anyone, whether a captive or anyone, not be commanded to do anything, not to sing, dance, move, or work, unless there was an interpreter available. So Hernando at this point was no longer simply a survivor. He was an interpreter, a mediator, and a peacekeeper. Okay? Very powerful for a young man. Now, the last story of Hernando that I'm going to share with you, before I get into the grand finale, the Fountain of Youth. How many of you were taught this as a fairy tale? Anybody was taught the Fountain of Youth as a fairy tale? Okay. Yet to the people of Florida, long before the Spanish arrived, this story was already ancient. There were stories of special waters to heal the body, spring waters that emerge rich in minerals bubbling from limestone earth. That in this land, most of our water is brackish and muddy and dirty, but if you found a clear spring, it was a miracle. And so when Europeans began hearing the story in the islands, they misunderstood, once again, what they were hearing. The indigenous people spoke of waters that could heal. The Spaniards heard waters that could make them young. And that misunderstanding was carried home. It ignited like a spark that dropped in dry gas. Soon sailors whispered that Florida held a fountain that could undo age itself. Noblemen started talking about it in the Spanish royal courts. And soon Juan Ponce de Leon sailed from the islands to the north in search of the fountain. He did not find the spring or the fountain. He did not find youth, but the legend endured. Legends survive because they are true. They survive because they answer a fear, the fear of aging, the fear of endings, the fear that life is running out. But Hernando, in his young, wise age, he saw this obsession as not just foolish, but tragic. He had seen entire communities uproot in search of this fountain, uproot and settle in Florida. Some made it, some did not. But he understood the Fountain of Youth was not a place. He understood the significance. It was a way of life, living in balance with the land, water, and time. It is something that Europe did not know how to learn. Think about it. Does modern man today learn that? Have we learned that? Perhaps not. And so Hernando remained with the Calusa for 17 years. He was discovered later at the age of 30 now by Spanish explorers and returned back to Spain with it, and this is when he wrote his memoir. So the Spanish, when they found him, they thought they found a man who would be a guide to help them conquest the Indians in Florida. Instead, what they found was a witness. He wrote his memoir not as an explorer, not as a conqueror, but as the last memory of a world that was about to vanquish. He warned Spain, do not try to rule these people. They are intelligent, they're capable. Invite them to live in peace. Spain did not listen. Empires rarely do. So Hernando's memoir is more than a colonial curiosity. It's a rare first-hand account of indigenous Florida before it was erased by conquest and disease. And now, centuries later, let's fast forward to 2023 and 24. We're uncovering the evidence to match his words. Right here beneath downtown Miami, archaeologists have found tools, pottery, and human remains dating back 4,000 years ago. These are feet away from, I live on the river of downtown Miami. And this was all over the news, I don't know if you remember, where they're building the Baccarat residences. That's a historical zone. They have to do archaeological excavation. And they found these objects dating 4,000 years old. That's as old as the Egyptian pyramids. And they even found, because I would go to City Hall to the historic preservation meetings the first Tuesday of every month, and I would hear Bob Carr, I'm sure many of you know Bob Carr, he's been around, chief archaeologist. They discovered a megalodon tooth. Does anybody know what a megalodon tooth is? Like a large shark, okay? Dating 10,000 years ago. Now, hold on, don't get excited, too excited. It doesn't mean that Miami, Tequesta is 10,000 years old, maybe it is, but most likely, according to Bob Corr, it originated from another region, because what they did learn is that Tequesta, the Miami of downtown Miami, was an international trading hub. Indians, native Indians from all over North America, Caribbean, perhaps South America, came there to trade, where our river meets the bay. This is significant. And I'm listening to the attorney for the developer, Mr. Perez, said, okay, now with this discovery, they're just gonna put it on a little plaque, some of the pieces in a little plaque. Sounds like a very 1983 solution. And then Bob Carr said they discovered hundreds, thousands of artifacts. They were gonna put them in boxes, on shelves. And then I went to all the meetings, and the Miccosukee drove 2 hours each time. You should have seen the look of pain on their faces. That is your answer to this great discovery? We sat there in shock, all of us residents who came to the city hall. Surely there must be a better answer. What would Europe do if they found a 4,000-year-old? They would erect a whole museum, correct? And so, what is the answer? You know, we are known for, you know, we do have a perception. There is a perception of Miami. So the question is, how do we unbox this? How do we protect our history? More than that, how do we unearth it? How do we bring it to the surface and elevate and educate and celebrate? We still have indigenous people that live here. They may be a small population, but they're still people. We celebrate, I'm Hispanic, half Hispanic. We celebrate Hispanic American, Jewish American, African American, Caribbean American. Do we really celebrate the first people of Miami? So I think back when I was watching the Paris Olympics. How many of you watched the Paris Olympics? I'm a big fan of them. How many of you have been to Paris? Probably all of you, okay. What I love about the French, they do it so fabulously. They're very proud of their history and their art and their culture, but they do it so well where they effortlessly and fluidly blend their past and their future. And you saw that in the Olympics, okay? We can do the same thing, right? We're very capable. What's happening now? I don't know about your neighborhood. Downtown is just explosive growth. You have a lot of big financial companies, hedge fund companies. You have Google and Microsoft, technology companies. And so thus the idea was born, myself and my neighbor, Judith Anderson, who's probably watching on Zoom. This is on Zoom, correct?
Yes.
Hello. Okay. The idea of Indigenous Whispers was born. And we thought this would be a great way to combine ancient storytelling with the latest technology, okay? So imagine this, we have a beautiful walkway in downtown Miami River. It's not continuous yet, it will be when they finish to development. But as you're walking, okay, imagine this, you're walking along, and in between these flashy buildings, fancy restaurants, appears, let's say a Tequesta Indian in 3D or 7D. I don't know what to call it. And what's your first name?
Daryl.
Daryl. They said, welcome, Daryl. Let me take you by the hand. Let me show you how we lived. So there would be 10 spots where we have this history interspersed between the buildings. Would that not be fascinating? And so, Hernando's story is just one thread, but his is a rare story that was written. Most of the indigenous, they don't write this down. And I have had the great honor of starting to connect with the Miccosukee. Now the Seminole a little bit more outspoken. In trying to connect with the Miccosukee, we learn that they're very private. When you first meet with them, they're very stone-faced, they're very private, they don't trust you, okay? What does this person want? But once we explain that we want to share their stories with their permission so that we can learn from them. Remember that balance in life between land, water, time. We know we could learn from them. And so once we tell them about our idea that we want to share their stories with their permission, then the tension melted away. So, and now the story is a rare account that was written. But it reminds us that history isn't just written in books, it's buried in the grounds, whispered in rivers, and it's waiting to be heard. And so here's where I'd like to invite you to join us in this effort in Indigenous Whispers to tell the story. Okay, let's put it on the surface, let's elevate it, let's spotlight it, let's celebrate it. Miami is so much more than just fancy restaurants, flashing buildings, yachts, and festivals. We have rich history, art, and culture. We do. We don't do enough to showcase it. On my tours, I didn't share, not to boast, but my tour company, it was a little boutique tour company. I left corporate America because I didn't want all the stress. Now, I worked hard, often 7 days a week, but my tour attracted many people from the Scandic countries. They don't like the flashy touristy gimmicks. They loved my tours because not only did they sightsee, but they learned. They learned about history and culture. Many people from England and Canada. And that's what helped my tour company be ranked top 10% in the world for attractions by TripAdvisor. And on TripAdvisor, you cannot put fake reviews. They have a technology that can track that. You cannot put fake reviews. So I was honored that our guests on the tour, we didn't want it just to be another tour. It had to be memorable. All my staff is over the age of 50. Why? Because they showed up on time. They're responsible and they love to tell stories. I wish I met some of you. I'd love to hire many of you to have been my tour guide. But Indigenous Whispers will be much more than just the walking tour. It will evolve. We have reached out to several organizations, History Miami, and many others are more than willing to collaborate. But the technology, we're at the critical stage. We launched the nonprofit this year, and we're at the critical stage for funding. This is technology called augmented reality. Now, originally, the idea was to use holograms. Have any of you seen a hologram? If you haven't, please Google it or YouTube it. It's fascinating. In one mall in Asia, you're walking, just like this floor here, you're walking along, and right over there, it turns into this big ocean, and out from it, underneath, emerges a whale. It looks so real. It's unbelievable. Or let's say you're walking one evening in Paris, strolling along the Champs-Élysées, and there on an old alabaster handrail is a full-size lion holograms. That was our original idea, right? But we soon learned in doing our homework, holograms cost millions of dollars. We're just two women, our 50s, 70s, that, just want to preserve our history. So we did our homework, we learned, well, the next best solution is something called augmented reality. We sent out some bids, and we chose Brevant, and we actually have here the founder of Brevant Technologies, Carlos Opeth, and his lovely wife, Valerie. They'll be doing the technology, so if you have any questions, I'm not a tech person, so by all means, please speak with Carlos. And so the technology, it's the funding. We need to raise $300,000 total, which is really not a lot in Miami's terms, but for two women like me and my neighbor, it may be a little difficult. So we knew we can get grants to make this technology come true, but we learned you can't get grants until you get local support, community support. So I'm not a salesperson, but I invite you to join us. Check out our website, I have business cards. If everyone made even a small donation, if we can show that many people made a small donation, $10, $20, $50, whatever, then it helps us go and apply for grants to obtain the funding for the technology. And so we are very excited to share this with you. And we also have plans not just for the walking tours for individuals, it will be with a phone, by the way, with a QR code. But we also plan to evolve to where groups may want, this group, for example, may want to do a private tour where you have a live tour guide, perhaps me, someone else, to take you around that same walk. And along the way would also be pioneer history, families of Miami that are prominent. There's history signs there about Julia Teller and all her families. We could even end at History Miami Museum, that's just 2 blocks away. So it would be all types of collaboration to really put us at a new level where Miami is known for so much more. I thank you so much for your time and attention. Any questions?
Thank you. Are you familiar with Give Miami Day?
Yes, we missed that. That was just in November.
No, it hasn't happened, it's 2 days from now.
Good Miami? Oh, no,
20th.
the 20th? Okay, or was it December? Give my, we missed the deadline. We just formed, so
Right.
you have to plan that in advance.
So
And
next year.
next year, yes. We already have it on the, we missed it this year because we just formed, we're an IRS recognized 501c3 nonprofit, so any donations are tax deductible. Yes, sir.
A few years ago, I read the memoirs of Fontaneda de Escalante. Are we talking about?
The same one.
Okay, so there weren't two different.
No, this is Hernando de Escalante Fontaneda.
Yeah.
That's the same young man, yes.
Okay.
And most people don't know this story.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things I wondered, I've heard a long time ago that there used to be buffalo in Florida, and there used to be wolves in Florida. And I'm wondering, because I didn't remember in reading these memoirs, if Fontaneda.
No, even bears. But
Oh, yeah.
But he never, and he went into detail, although some of the more repulsive reptiles he didn't want to describe. But no, but this is mostly waterland down here in the south. I can't speak to further north. I don't know much about northern Florida, but, okay. Yeah, there are many prairies, but buffalo, I've never heard of that. I should ask Dr. Paul George.
Check with Ken Burns.
But
I think Kitten Burns is in Florida for two.
I doubt it would be in South Florida, just logically, because it was just so swampy and marsh and it
No,
was.
they were here, but I don't know how late they were still here.
Oh, okay, maybe
And
further
same
north
with
Florida?
wolves.
Okay, maybe northern Florida. He did say he saw a fox, an animal that looked like a fox.
Yes.
It wasn't quite a fox, and he said it was very fatty, that they did eat that. But he never mentioned buffalo.
That was probably months ago.
This is Carlos Oheb, the founder
Hello,
of
everyone.
Robin Technologies.
Yeah, I want to introduce myself and thank you, Christine, for this fantastic presentation. That technology, I'm behind the responsible to provide, advisor to the Indigenous Whispers. The beauty of this is now with the augmented reality is where you have in your phone the options to, stay in any place of the underline and open your phone and you will see an avatar and feels what happened in the, many years ago. And so it's a technology that is accessible for everyone, okay, anytime. So it's important to mention that this technology is a secure technology, it's compliant technology. All around the technology is basic. We're expecting to do it in Microsoft, okay, because we are using technologies came from Microsoft. We are, trying to working close with the University of Miami, a lot of foundations here in Miami. But, we're really excited to, invite you to come and explore a little bit more about the website, what inside the scopes in the meeting. There's a roadmap where you can see what's happening in the middle term, okay, what's happening in the beginning, what we're gonna do with the funds that we're obtaining, and then finally the project, finishing, okay, the marketing behind this. Everything is a part of the great story, not only for the heritage, it's part of the try to get involved everyone into this new fantastic and exciting, faster technology era that we are living now. We came in from the old school technology and with artificial intelligence, which is the most topic, talking everyone everywhere, is gonna make a game changer to this kind of technology. So again, thank you, Christine, for this fantastic presentation. The website have a lot of information that you can, explore and learn more about what's the great initiative. Thank you.
Yeah, this will do a lot for tourism. And my tours attracted people who really wanted more than just the touristy gimmicks. This will raise our tourism to a whole new level. And yes, did anyone else have a question?
I was just gonna say, I think you did a very good job.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm a little rusty. I haven't done tours in a while. I think I would tell this story on the rare occasion, but a much shorter version, when the rare occasion I had children. Okay? And the French would often hire us for private tours, especially for the Art Deco, because they loved all this. The French would tell me they don't like Disneyland in Paris. That's for the non-French people. They love anything to do with art, culture, and history. And so this was a great story that I would share, among others, when there were children on the tour. So I do invite you to join. I have some business cards, and even if you'd like to help in other ways, we are looking for volunteers to help with, if you know anyone, of social media. We really need to help attract millennials, Generation Z. Okay. If you know the media, if you are public relations experience, helping us connect more with the media. We already had our first interview on NPR. NPR, you can see a small segment on our website.
This is our boat.
How about now?
Okay, testing. Technology never perfect. Thank you for coming. Yes, sir, in the orange. I like your orange shirt.
Thank you. I visited St. Augustine, and I went into a place and there was a spring and it said this was the fountain of youth. Did they take advantage of me when they did that?
Yes.
I had water, but I had my own water bottle. I filled it up, and actually it works. I'm 275 years old.
Where is your shop?
My shop, Little Havana shop, it's not in a storefront, you know, the rents, commercial rents. I'm in between, I'm right behind Brickell City Center. I'm in a historic building called the McCormick Building. Anybody know the McCormick family? Okay, so I'm not a storefront, just a little boutique. It's mostly by appointment, so you can just text me because, you know, I'm right next door. And you can come in, try different hats, and I also specialize in custom hats. I have a lot of people, especially women, that want a special straw hat, but they want a certain color, a certain width, a certain ribbon, and it could be for yourself or for private events, for weddings, or for whatever reason, so that's another specialty. So I have my card as well. Oh, and when you do buy anything at our shop, 5% goes to Indigenous Whispers. Yes, ma'am.
Christine, I just wanted to say, and Carlo, I got a snippet of what was to be envisioned with the augmented reality. And if anybody is not familiar with it, wow, it'll just give you chills.
It'll blow your mind.
And the vision I saw was that you're standing on the Riverwalk downtown, and you're looking at this vista. Ahead of you is a mother and child, and they turn around, and it's the indigenous mother and child. And now you're transforming the whole vision into what it would have looked at, like in their time.
Exactly.
Phenomenal.
I don't know if you use social media. I have to for my work. My mom doesn't at all, but if you use Instagram, do follow us, please. And also, the way to help is, social media is a great way. Just when you like, just when you make a comment, that boosts our visibility, so we're seen by others. But on the Instagram, we created a little video just to give you an idea what would happen as you're walking along the Miami River, as the young lady just pointed out. An indigenous Tequesta person comes to life to greet you.
Is it under your name or is it under another?
It's under Indigenous Whispers, the Instagram. Yes, no, not my name. I'm just a co-founder with my a dear friend and neighbor Judith, and we are volunteers. We don't make any money. We're just on the board as co-founders, volunteers. No one makes a salary. This is a labor of love.
Yeah, great.
Okay, any other questions?
Oh, you got something to add?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. I'll be here for any questions. I have business cards.
Yeah, I'd like to get